Let's bring in Rami Khouri now, Distinguished Public Policy Fellow at the American University of Beirut. He joins me live from Boston. Welcome again, Rami. Clearly Israel's breaching the ceasefire there. Why bother signing a ceasefire if you're going to continue military attacks?
Because Israel doesn't abide by the agreements it signs for the most part. It abides a little bit till it gets what it wants, and then it continues attacking. This has been the pattern in all of the arrangements that it's had over the years, the exception being when it reached a full peace agreement with Jordan and with Egypt decades ago. Those have held because both sides have gotten what they want and they treat each other as equals. In the case of Palestine and Syria, Lebanon, Israel sees itself as the dominant party in the region that has priority for security, for sovereignty, for well-being, for safety, economic development, and all the other things that go with being a effective state. And it sees the Lebanese and Palestinians as not quite subhuman, but having lesser rights than the Israelis do. So this is nothing unusual. They've been doing this for a long time. The difference now is that Israel remains feeling strong and dominant and invincible almost in the region after what it did last year in attacking Hezbollah and attacking Iran and the overthrow of the Assad regime. It feels that it can do anything it wants, and the U.S. has basically supported it with an occasional exception in Gaza where the U.S. pressures the Israelis a little bit. But it does anything it wants, and it feels that using military force will ultimately force its opponents to kneel and give in to what it wants. And what it wants from Lebanon is a negotiated agreement and a peace agreement. They want Lebanon to join the Abraham Accords and be subservient to Israel. Of course, this cannot happen. First of all, most Lebanese don't want it to happen under present conditions, and it won't happen if Hezbollah remains a strong player. I just came back from a week in Lebanon, and there's great concern there that the Lebanese government is caught in between the pressures from the Israeli government, pressures politically from the American government, and the concerns of its own people that they're going to become vassals of Israel.
I'm just thinking back to when that ceasefire deal was struck. If I remember this correctly, part of the agreement was that Hezbollah had to disarm and also Israel had to withdraw its troops from the south of Lebanon. I'm not sure if either of those things actually technically happened. So is there even really a ceasefire?
Well, on paper there is. In fact, in reality, no, there isn't. Israel has not only not withdrawn fully, it has occupied a few bits of pieces, new pieces of land in southern Lebanon, and it has essentially destroyed almost all the facilities that humans have built, houses, roads, schools, hospitals, whatever, along the border to create a border buffer zone inside Lebanon of destroyed villages, looking very much like much of Gaza, total destruction. And this is partly done to make them feel more secure, but it's also partly done to send a message, not just to Lebanon, but to Syria as well, because the next target of Israel for a peace agreement, a negotiated agreement that favors Israel, the next target is Syria. All of these conflicts are linked together. And of course, Gaza was the example that Israel sets for all the other Arabs, saying, if you don't do what we want you to do, Gaza is going to be in your future. You will be destroyed and be uninhabitable for human beings or farm animals or any living being. So this is a real problem for the Lebanese, and the Lebanese government, the new government, has tried to be more effective, more proactive. They've tried to convince Hezbollah that it needs to reduce the confrontation with Israel, and Hezbollah has played along to a certain extent. It has allowed the weapons and facilities it has south of the Litani River, right along the Israeli border. It has withdrawn from there and allowed the Lebanese army to take up those positions, but that's not enough for for the Israelis. They want essentially total surrender by Lebanon. And the Lebanese government is not going to use force to disarm Hezbollah. It doesn't have enough force because Hezbollah is probably stronger than the Lebanese army. And the Lebanese people as a whole don't want that kind of internal civil war to happen again. And if the Lebanese army tried to forcibly disarm Hezbollah, the army would fracture into Shiites and Sunnis and Christians. And it's a very delicate situation in confessional balance terms in Lebanon. So there's many complications, internal, bilateral with Israel, regional ones with Syria, and the overarching presence of the United States above all of these things.
If I think back just over the past year, Israel's been fighting conflicts. It's been firing on the Houthis in Yemen, fighting with Hamas in Gaza, fighting with Hezbollah in Lebanon, and I'm missing one, yes, also launching military strikes on Syria. Now, that requires a lot of weaponry.
And Iran and Iraq.
And Iran, yes, Iran and Iraq. That requires a lot of military hardware. Where is it getting all of that? Is it able to manufacture any of it itself, or is it totally reliant on the United States? Are they largely to blame for this?
It's totally reliant on the U.S. and some other Western countries for the big items. Small items, it can manufacture, bullets and small projectiles, and they manufacture a lot of their own technological communication systems, intelligence systems. But it's totally reliant for the weaponry and on the U.S. Not only that, it's reliant on the U.S. for the defensive systems. So when Iran was firing missiles at Israel last year, they were able to penetrate the defensive system that Israel has, which is pretty sophisticated, and also multi-level, multi-tiers of air defenses. But the Israelis were susceptible to the Iranian missiles were getting through and hit some military bases, hit some strategic locations all across the country. And that's why Israel had to call in the United States and the forces in the region to help with the defense. And the U.S., I think one of the reasons the U.S. suddenly has tried to bring about a ceasefire in Gaza is they don't want the Israeli aggressive posture in the region to allow for a big regional war to happen, because they know that the U.S. would have to send troops and military facilities and aircraft carriers to Israel, because Israel cannot possibly defend itself if it's being attacked simultaneously by Hezbollah and Iran and the Ansarullah, the Houthis in Yemen. This has been proven last year in a way that was not clear before, because never before had Israel faced the kind of missiles that Iran has, which are much more sophisticated than anything else that Israel has faced. So having 6 different people in the region that you're fighting with is not a very comfortable position. The Israelis keep doing what they're doing because they're pretty sure that the U.S. is going to support them. And most of the European powers mostly have also supported Israel in this respect. But their patience is wearing thin, I think, and people would really like to pause and then reverse this regional trend of escalating wars between Israel and many different Arab parties and Iran, and move towards some kind of diplomatic resolution, if possible, further down the road. But that has to start with a ceasefire in Gaza, and then a ceasefire that actually is ceasing fire in Lebanon, and that hasn't happened yet. Partly it's because the Israelis don't really understand the diplomatic process as well as they understand the military process. They like to attack people, they like to kill people, they like to intimidate people, destroy their facilities, their countries, their cities, as they've shown over and over again. They've done it several times in Lebanon, several times in Gaza. They've done it in Syria, and even though Syria wasn't attacking them when Assad was overthrown, they went around destroying all the military facilities. So Israel is kind of addicted to militarism, and it's now using that addiction and that power it has, which is frightening for the people of the region, but also frightening for the United States. So all of these issues are coming to a head together, and the next 4 or 5 months, I think, will clarify whether this region is doomed to perpetual and massive warfare, or it's going to stop this and reach a political agreement of some sort.
Rami, interesting analysis as always. Appreciate it. Rami Khouri from the American University of Beirut, my guest.
Thank you, Neil.